James Daly.
Thank you very much indeed. Can I say what I think a fine speech that was? I may not agree with much of what was in it, but I think it's a heartfelt plea to protect our union, to unionist politicians like me. It's a strange thing indeed. I'm elected in Bury, but I consider myself part of the same country as the honourable members that are still on the Scottish National benches. I may have a naive point of view, but I believe we all live in the same country within defined different nationalities. I understand that, but I consider myself British. I consider, my colleagues over there may well not do this, but I consider you to be British as well. I see the shaking of the heads. But the preservation of a union which I think has benefited the whole, the people of all of our islands, is so important. And rather than commenting on internal Scottish or Welsh politics, I'd just like to make some general points regarding this bill and why I support it. I think in the era and the time that we are living in, a bill that regulates and standardises the way that firms and businesses interact with each other across the United Kingdom has to be a good thing. I understand the arguments that are being put forward, but from my point of view, free and unfettered access, fair treatment for all individuals and businesses is, I think, an honourable intention. Of course.
There has actually been about a year's worth of work on agreeing common frameworks to deal with difference. So, following the Honourable Lady for North East Fife talking about having consensus, would that not be a more successful approach than one country bullying the other three?
I think that there is a lot of merit in that approach. I suspect, and I'm sure the Honourable Lady will tell me that I'm wrong, that literally ministers on this side of the House could say anything, and I suspect the Scottish National Party would not agree and would find a different argument upon which to take a different course. But I think it's a very valid point. What I want to say, two very simple points. I think the bill is meritorious, I think it is positive, I think it is seeking to achieve an outcome that increases prosperity for everyone within the United Kingdom. I was somewhat surprised, it's the first opportunity I've had to speak in this debate, but I was somewhat surprised that on the first day of the debate, members from the Scottish Nationalist benches were arguing that money should not be invested into Scotland because it comes from the United Kingdom Treasury. So monies that this is certainly my perspective, I see I'll just develop my point and of course you can come back. I see monies in a bill that allows ministers of the Crown of the United Kingdom to invest monies in different parts of the United Kingdom in collaboration with the devolved assemblies as an extremely positive thing. Now, the argument that will come back is there is nothing within this bill to confirm how that money, what the framework is for the whether we're going to build a bridge or whatever the investment is. But I would never stand up here and say, and I can't understand the argument to the contrary, to argue that money should not be invested in an area to benefit citizens because it comes from a certain pocket. The honourable members constantly argue that the EU is a positive change for good. They had no objection to the way EU money is coming into this. I believe that my government has the most honourable and positive intentions to invest monies in all parts of the United Kingdom to kickstart and supercharge the economy, to get us through the coronavirus period, and that's why I think this bill is a positive step. Of course.
Sorry, can I just intervene here? I am sorry to the honourable member, but we have a bit strayed off the point, and I like to give flexibility and latitude, but I don't really want to kick off a long-standing discussion about something that was actually discussed last week, if that's okay. Yeah.
So going on to the point about regulation, about standards, I've listened to the debate, and there's been numerous comments regarding a race to the bottom, a derogation and standards. I can see no evidence whatsoever in the papers that I've seen at all that anything other than the highest standards are to be maintained in regulation, in food, and all the other powers and competences that the UK government will now be administering. There is no evidence for any of this. I appreciate the point that is made, and numerous examples can be put forward in respect of I have concern about this, I have concern about this might happen or that might happen. The central point is that the UK government has continued and repeatedly stated its commitment to the highest standards, whether that be in food, health, animal welfare standards, and all the other examples that have been given.
It's on that point.
Of course, yeah.
That is the topic of today. But why then will the government refuse to protect those standards in legislation? We had an agriculture bill and we had a trade bill. So there was plenty of opportunity to put in writing the commitment not to go below the levels that we currently have.
Certainly, in my view, the government has not at any point refused to give a commitment. As I repeat again for the honourable member, the government has repeatedly stated its commitment to the highest possible standards. EU standards, standards that have regulated businesses and the various sectors of the economy that I've referred to. And therefore, I do not believe, I would accept the argument if some evidence could be pointed to by members from the benches opposite, but there is nothing, there is no evidence at all that the government are going to derogate from the highest possible regulatory standards. If I could, of course, yes.
There's no evidence at all that they will lower standards, but there's nothing to stop them doing it in the legislation. And it's all very well them telling each other and chatting in the corridors, telling us, no, don't worry, we won't do that. You've got to put it in the legislation. Otherwise, how are we supposed to be clear that we will not have to lower standards against our will?
Many things could happen in life, many things. The point remains that not one member opposite has been actually able to point to one action of the government, anything, literally anything, that would point to the government derogating from the highest possible standards and the standards that we enjoy at this moment in time and which we have under the European Union. I think this is a good bill. I think it is a positive bill. Rather than dwelling, Madam Chair, in respect of the legal argument, which I think will be somewhat going off the point in respect of where we are today, no matter how tempted I am in respect of that, I want to say that this is a bill to strengthen our United Kingdom, to invest monies in every part of it, to ensure that we have free, unfettered access, to ensure that all parts of the United Kingdom are within the UK internal market, as set out in the withdrawal agreement, the Northern Ireland Protocol, and I congratulate ministers on this bill. It will only do good for our fellow citizens of all parts of the United Kingdom.